Australia is building a 125 BN mega railway. Imagine if I told you there's a new way to build metro lines that challenges the usual approach worldwide. Many metro systems were created in the mid-20th century to efficiently move people from suburbs to city centers. But our cities have changed a lot since then. Some cities are now spending huge amounts, like 125 billion Australian dollars, to update their metro systems. They're realizing the old design doesn't fit today's urban life. This massive project is a big deal, showing how important it is to have metro systems that match the needs of our modern cities. In cities like Melbourne, the old idea of separate zones for living and working is changing. Modern urban landscapes integrate living and working spaces, breaking down the traditional barriers. The city sections are now interconnected, reflecting the flexible way people live and work in today's cosmopolitan settings. Originally, the city put all offices and shops together in one area, away from homes. As suburbs grew, trains connected them to the city. It worked well, but things changed. Now, people prefer living in city apartments, and offices are everywhere. Today, the old system has problems. For instance, if you live in one area and work in another, taking public transport means a long journey through the city center. The train takes an hour and 20 minutes, while driving only takes 16 minutes. This shows how the old system doesn't work well anymore, making it tough for people in the changed city. Looking at Melbourne's train system, known worldwide for being really efficient, we see a cool setup. Lots of train lines crisscross, making a fancy network with circles not just in the city center, but also reaching the outer parts. This smart design gives people many travel choices, not just the usual suburb-to-work routes from the past. Melbourne is dealing with a project, a once-in-a-century thing, to tackle transportation issues. Even though 5 million people live here, making it more populated than Sydney, not many folks use trains. About 19% of all Australians live in Melbourne now, showing how much the city has grown in the last 10 years. With almost more tall buildings than London and Beijing combined, Melbourne's skyline shows it's a bustling city. Despite hosting big events like the Olympics, having fun places like Luna Park, and being home to Margot Robbie before she became famous, Melbourne's public transport isn't that great. Even though it has the world's biggest tram network, not many people take the train, just 3% according to the 2021 census. Half the population uses cars for their daily commute. To fix this, Melbourne is starting the Suburban Rail Loop. It's a huge 90-kilometer project that aims to connect the outer parts of Melbourne with a complete rail network. But doing this comes with challenges and costs a lot. 125 billion Australian dollars, showing the city is investing big in its future. This project has been split into 4 phases. First, they're building 26 kilometers of tunnels and 6 new stations, costing $33 billion, set to finish by 2035. The second phase connects the city center to the airport, with a target completion between 2043 and 2053. The entire project wraps up in 2084. Critics think it might influence politics, but the main issue is money. The project lacks a third of its funds and depends on value capture. Public dissent is growing due to economic struggles. Melbourne wanted to improve its transportation by building the Suburban Rail Loop, but first, it had to deal with traffic jams in the city center. So, they started building the Metro Tunnel, an underground train path, about 40 meters below the busy streets, stretching 9 kilometers. This tunnel is part of a big plan to upgrade how people get around the city. Enormous machines dug the tunnel, creating a new train line from the west to the southeast, with 5 new stations for better connections. The Metro Tunnel fixes a problem where all trains used to get stuck in the city center, making them less frequent and predictable. Unlike smoother systems in places like London, where trains come often, Melbourne's old setup made people plan their trips carefully. Trains every 10 or 20 minutes meant passengers had to plan a lot, losing the spontaneity and ease of good public transportation. This bottleneck not only slowed down commuters, but also added uncertainty. Instead of knowing a train would come soon, Melbourne's residents had to plan well ahead, considering the rare trains. Missing one meant big delays and disruptions to schedules. Melbourne realized this was a problem and decided to build the metro tunnel as a solution. This new underground railway goes around the old bottleneck, allowing more trains to run often and making it easier for people to get around. It shows that Melbourne is serious about making its public transportation as good as other global cities. But building the metro tunnel wasn't easy. Before they started, there were debates among politicians. Some wanted to improve the existing train network, seeing it as crucial for the city's growth. Others wanted to focus on building more roads for the increasing number of cars. This difference in opinion made planning the tunnel tricky. They had to find a balance between these views to create a transportation plan that worked for everyone. When people heard that a huge tunnel would mess up Melbourne's Main Street and split the city in two, for a long time, everyone got really upset. One dramatic politician even said it was like the Berlin Wall. But instead of causing chaos, smart engineers found a way to keep the tunnel route without wrecking the whole Swanston Street. They didn't destroy all the important buildings on Swanston Street. Instead, they knocked down just the right ones to make a path for the tunnels under the street. This clever idea meant the tunnel boring machines, TBMs, could dig without causing too much trouble. There were 4 massive TBMs responsible for digging these twin tunnels. Each TBM was super heavy, over 1,100 tons, and as long as a skyscraper is tall. They had giant cutter heads, each weighing as much as a big truck, to drill through really hard rock, even harder than concrete. Think of these TBMs like submarines, but underground. Each TBM had a team of up to 10 people working on it, including one person in charge. They worked day and night, every day of the week. The TBMs turned into underground offices with kitchens and toilets, making it possible for the crew to live and work beneath the city. To make sure the TBMs didn't accidentally drill into the wrong things, they had fancy navigation systems. These systems kept the machines on the right track and prevented them from hitting something they shouldn't. Safety was a big deal, with constant monitoring to make sure everything went according to plan. Giving the TBMs a local touch, they were named after important women from the state's history, like the first woman premier and an Australian cricket captain. Each TBM even had its own color to make them stand out. The first TBM, named Joe, started digging from Arden in 2020. Then came Meg, continuing the big digging project. This careful and smart planning turned a potential mess into an impressive engineering achievement. Melbourne's Main Street stayed intact, and under the ground, these huge tunnels were being created, connecting the city for the future. A few weeks later, 2 big machines started digging tunnels under Melbourne. Then, a few months later, 2 more machines began digging from the other side. All 4 machines met in the middle of the tunnels around mid-2021. In just a little more than a year, the first part of Melbourne's new railway will open for everyone to use. Even though it will take many decades to finish everything, Melbourne is on the right track. Melbourne is already planning for the future. By the end of this century, the city aims to be really big and impressive. The exciting part is that the first step of this plan is about to happen. A new railway that will make getting around the city much easier. The machines digging underground are like superheroes building a path for trains. When they all meet in the middle, it's like a big celebration because it means the tunnels are ready. In a short time, people in Melbourne will be able to ride the trains on this new railway. Even though it will take a long time to finish everything Melbourne dreams of, this first part is a big achievement. The city is becoming more modern and better connected. Melbourne is like a giant puzzle, and each piece, like this new railway, helps create the picture of what the city wants to be in the future. So, even though it's just the beginning, Melbourne is already showing the world its plans to be a fantastic and big city. That's all for today. We hope you liked the video. Do subscribe to our channel for upcoming construction updates.